Hello again. After the world-renowned Everglades documentary, we've been called back to expand our horizons. It's now 20 years into the future, and the year is 1950. Today we're going to take a look at the critically acclaimed novel 'Tis, and it's through the lens of an Irish immigrant named Frank McCourt. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your lemon meringue pie and ginger ale. And enjoy the show. You can't miss it. You want to visit America. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to a swamp in the Everglades? Hello, New York! The city that never sleeps. You can do whatever you want in New York City. There's everything. The Rockefeller Center, the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, Broadway. Must I go on? Well, let's get into the details of New York City and what makes it so special. One of the United States hubs for immigration is New York City. Here's a little history. The Statue of Liberty was constructed in 1886, and it was a gift from the French. 6 years later, in 1892, Ellis Island opened just across the bay. At that point in time, there was a shift in the people that were coming to this country. Before, it had been primarily people from North and West Europe. So think British, Irish, German, or Scandinavian people. Then, when Ellis Island had just opened, more people from Southern and Eastern Europe came. So Jews, Italians, Polish, Hungarians. Why did these people come, you ask? For the land of opportunity. They could make something of themselves in America. They thought that if they gave it their all, they could become greater than what they would have been in their country. They were also escaping war and poverty, which is a pretty good idea. Eventually, after a fire, Ellis Island rebuilt and added a hospital and started to include medical and legal inspections, so not everybody could just come into the country. However, once people got in, most stayed in New York City. Obviously, many spread out into the other regions of the country, but many stayed. However, in 1921, the Emergency Quota Act and later the Immigration Act of 1924 severely limited the number of immigrants that came in. To make matters worse, the Great Depression caused more people to leave than to come in. But immigration is just one of the small, many aspects that define New York City. And I feel like one of the most important of those aspects is culture. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in that field, but I know someone who is. He's a cultural liaison, he always knows where the hottest jazz clubs are, and he's my personal Stefan. Henry, take it off.
Good afternoon. In the 1950s, New York City became the cultural epicenter of the world. Let's talk about how. Jazz, the nation's hottest genre, was brought in new directions by pioneers like Miles Davis and John Coltrane. They ushered in new styles such as hard bop. New York City became a rite of passage for jazz musicians, with 52nd Street, home to clubs such as Onyx and Three Deuces, coming to be known colloquially as just the street. In the world of fashion, the urban elite adopted a new, sleek, and modern style with its focus on professionalism. In the world of visual art, artists like Jackson Pollock and Joan Mitchell changed the way art was viewed, with the rawly emotional, abstract expressionism. Sometimes, paint was just thrown onto canvases. Literary movements such as the Beat Generation, led by Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, also took root in New York City.
Another important aspect of New York City is its educational system. Around 1950, the Soviet Union sent up Sputnik, showing to the world that the United States was technologically inferior to the Soviet Union. And that did not go over well in the United States. So it started to federally fund educational reform. This made schools a lot tougher, and it had the focus more on math and science, so we could get more satellites up faster than the Soviet Union and beat them to the moon. There are several types of high schools in New York City in the 1950s. There's obviously the private schools, but then there were also vocational schools. Those are also known as trade schools, and they developed technical skills for a particular job, and they were aimed for students to go directly into the workforce. There's also a lot of colleges in New York City. There's NYU, Fordham, Rockefeller, and if you be so lucky, Columbia. As you can see, New York is an intriguing setting for the memoir, 'Tis.